sorry, Alfie for me, I would just say to him, know what, if you find a club in January, find one. If they agree the terms with you, fine, and we'll agree a fee with them. We'll see what we get with 6 months left. I would just say, Ox, we need to clear these players out. Can't keep going back and going, aye, they were good then and they were good that season and that season. They were, but it's about going forward. And if we stick with someone, if we stick with A2 for a start, then I just think Mick Beale's got the ring way about it. He needs to get off of that squad out of there, mate, to be perfectly honest. And Alfie was good at what he done in the time he done it, but going forward, what's he done lately? He come back, no fit. He's looked uninterested. And he'll probably get his mojo back, possibly, maybe, for Mick Beale. And he might think, he's got to cajole these players to maybe use them. But I wouldn't be starting them. I'd be playing Jolak. That'd be my starter, my striker, going forward. But that's just my opinion. We'll see what happens against Hibs.
It'd be interesting to see how it pans out. Aye. Listen, I think I said after the St Mirren game, Jaffa, the love affair ended that day, you know. We loved them. We loved the character. We loved them. But sometimes you have to move on, you know. Remember that night you get dumped by that supermodel?
I'll move on for that.
Sorry, I read that wrong. It was Quasimodo. Sorry.
It was Quasimodo, not supermodel. Listen, Ox, I think that it's finished with Alfie. Good memories, but I don't think his head's in the right place. I think he needs a fresh challenge as well. He needs to go and for his own sake, his own well-being in his career, being hard to the guy. Wish him nothing but well wishes for me in particular, and I think that would be the case for the majority of Rangers supporters. The wee guys, he came to us raw. It could be argued that he's still raw, but he doesn't score enough strikers' goals for me. Just no thinking, just total, reactional shooting in the box or in the 6-yard box. I like his link-up play. I think that's his strongest part of his game. But for a striker, that's not where you do your best work. You do your best work in the 18-yard box. And I think it's time for Alfie to go. And if we can find him a club, or he finds a club, or his agent does, and we can get a fee for him, delighted. I don't think he's worth anywhere close to, I don't know what we pay him, Ox. I genuinely don't. I don't know if it's 25, 35, but he'll be in the top end bracket. And I don't think having him and Kent taking out £50,000 a week or in excess of that out of the club is good business. I think we can do a lot better, and I'm sure Mick Beale should be all over that like a rash.
Aye, okay. So the criticism will be that we'll let them run their contracts down, but once you get 18 months out, mate, the pendulum just swings in their favour, and they don't have to do nothing. You're snookered. You're snookered. What do you do? The hardest thing in football is getting rid of players, isn't it?
That's true. Yeah. Sorry, Southside, I'll let you take that one.
Ox, it is. And like you say, if they don't want to move and nobody comes in for them, then you're stuck with them. It'll be interesting to see if the body language, as Mick Beale talks about, and look them in the eye. It'll be interesting if they don't want to sign, what he's going to do with them. Because he did say, I'll cast you to the side. And that was his words when he got interviewed. So it'll be interesting to see what he does.
So it'll be interesting to see if they're playing against Hibs, the two individuals. Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. Aye.
Okay, so we move on. We digressed a bit. Kent and Morelos, I didn't think we go down that road as much. So we get that. We get the player trading model. We get that. We get how important Europe is. We also understand that. And we also understand it was a positive this season, qualifying for the Champions League. But last season was exceptional. Exceptional in Europe. Listen, let's be honest. Somebody thought we'd never see Rangers in another European final. Somebody thought in 2007 we might never see us in a European final. And we've been in two. And listen, what's that? 14-year Southside. So that was an exceptional season with finances and money coming into the club because of Europe, yeah?
Yeah, 100%. The run made the difference. Obviously, the ticket prices and sponsorship and hospitality, all that, and the TV revenue, that all contributed. So to get that success that we had going all the way to Seville, it certainly helped the board and the finances, as they were explaining today, mate.
Mm-hmm. Aye, it's a big feature in modern football. You've seen that with Norwich, a club that get relegated, getting that parachute payment, as they call it, Jaffa. We're trying to compete because we earn absolutely nothing for the TV deal in Scotland.
No, and that's on the structure of our league up here. Well, with the TV deal that they've repeatedly signed up to, and we've just run away and done another one. To a lot of people within the media industry saying that it's mental what's going on in Scottish football with the TV deals that they're signing. When you compare, as you say, the bottom of the EPL club, who I'm not trying to offend any Norwich City fans here or the club in general. Norwich are a great club, but they're not even a third of the size of Glasgow Rangers with their season ticket holders, but yet they're turning over £134 million in revenue, and we're getting to a Europa League final to turn over £86 million in revenue. So it is a great comparison, and it puts things into perspective that how important European football is to us. And as Southside alluded to earlier on there, the player trading model, and the other income that Bisgrove and various other departments, parts of the club are contributing. And incidentally, I would also put on top of that the amount of merchandise that the fans buy, and the amount of merchandise our fan base absorbs and buys and demands. We buy everything that the club put out, and that's a credit to the fans, I have to say.
Aye, yeah. The supporters, I've not went through the accounts again, Southside, but I think that the money through the turnstile was about 41 million. It's no far away from 50% of your turnover, yeah?
Yeah, they mentioned that. They did say that as well. If it wasn't for the fans and the support coming through the gates, that obviously makes a vast difference, because I think that's what they rely on a lot of your money coming in Oxford. It sounds it, apart from Europe, obviously, but that's where we generate most of our cash.
Aye, it's important that the fans are the lifeblood of the club. People come and go, businessmen come and go. Players come and go, Jaffa, but the fans are the lifeblood of the club, aren't they?
100%, Ox. Aye, and I think it's good that the especially the current board, their communication could certainly be a lot better. They seem to listen to it. Well, for what I've heard today and in times gone by, the fact that they're all Rangers fans. I mean, listen, it's not an easy job running our club. It's a big animal to run. And obviously, from where we've come from and the financial position we were in, it's taken a lot of people's money to get it back to, our money as fans as well, because we've continually put our money in. The season ticket holders, guys like Southside who travel all over the world spending his hard-earned cash, the guys like ourselves that go to other games and different games, buy merchandise, all of us as fans, we all contribute. And the fans deserve an enormous amount of credit. And as you said, that represents still the biggest chunk of our turnover, and long may it continue.
Here. If I've got one criticism, and it's next year's accounts, I've got one criticism. I just think they pitched the Champions League money just a wee bit OTT, the price of the tickets. That's my own personal view. Others might see it slightly different. I just think they were a wee bit OTT Southside.
Aye, well, they priced it at the highest that UEFA deemed possible, I think. I think probably Ox as well. When you see the prices you're paying in the Europa League, we were up at £50 in that. We started doing about 25, I think, or 20, but I think one time we were 35 when everybody else was cheaper, even English teams and that. So I thought the Champions League would be overpriced. See, to be honest, they probably looked at it, Ox, and looked at the three teams, and they're having to think ahead as well and think, if we don't get third, we don't have any European football. So we'll probably need to maximise what we can get for these group stage games. And that's what they've done, basically.
I get it. I just think, on a £5 or less ticket, I would there. Well, all right, it'd have been £750,000, maybe a bit less when you take in all the kids and the old age pensioners, but I get it, but understand the business side of it, Jaffa, and I just thought it was slightly too heavy, yeah.
I would agree with that, Ox. I think they did misjudge it a wee bit, but I think Southside makes a brilliant valid point.
Valid point.
Yeah, but the way, that's probably exactly how they viewed it, and that's exactly how it turned out. So they had no more revenue to get for European games, especially when you compare it to where we were last year, and the run that we went on, and we were having the home matches, running right through the Europa League. So, I would say, Ox, the prices could have been they could have been a bit even. Listen, they could have got a bit more money out of the corporate side of it and balanced it out a wee bit more and let the fans enjoy a slightly less pricey ticket.
Aye. I understand that. I just think that maybe sometimes you've got to look after your customers. Sometimes, yeah, But anyway, people views them, and maybe people should think it should have been a lot cheaper. I just think personally it should have been a bit cheaper. Because we have to continuously look at revenue streams because it's a thirsty beast along with a big wage bill, Jaffa. And it was also mentioned today about what's been done by the shareholders, the board of directors, to support the club in the past and going forward.
I mean, Ox, and I read a lot online from a lot of us, about trying, wanting John Bennett and wanting Dougie Park to out the club, and we want fresh investment. And and by the way, I'm not a John Bennett and a Dougie Park cheerleader. I'm not at all. I just find it difficult when the guys are putting in and the kind of money these guys have put up, converting the loans to shares. John Bennett today announcing that he's given the club another soft loan overdraft of £10 million at a 6% interest rate. And people go, aye, but he's charging interest on it. If you went out to the commercial market and went to a bank and said, well, you give me a £10 million overdraft, you'll be talking about probably double that, Ox, if you even get it, if you're even good for it. So I don't think you can underestimate just how much these current board of directors and shareholders have put into the club to help us. Listen, we've all contributed. And I'm not saying, the fans haven't, and, other things haven't contributed. James Bisgrove's not contributed. But the guys at the forefront putting their head above the parapet, like Dougie Park and John Bennett and Julian Woolhart and all the rest of them, I think they deserve an enormous amount of credit. I really do.
Yeah. Listen, again, it's only my view, Southside. Some of these things don't even get discussed with some of the supporters if we're winning football matches.
That's the thing, as we've said before. It always comes to the head when the football team aren't doing well, aren't performing, then everything else gets looked at across the board. And it'll look at director of football as we've got now, and we look at the board of directors and what they're doing. So it's only natural as well that you should take a look at what your board's doing. I'm the happy clapper, Jaffa, for Dougie Park, as they say. But Dougie Park's had these problems and he's had these criticisms, and I've criticised them myself, because that's what we do. We look for the board and we look for our club and our football team to be the best at everything and do the best. And sometimes they make mistakes and they do stupid things, like can happen. So, but no, but they've all put their money in. We can see that they've had to keep the club afloat, and they've got a group of Rangers supporting directors that are in there and have put their money forward, and we've got to thank them for that. But we've got to look for them as well. A guy asked a question today at the AGM if there's a way forward for him and some investors to get either put in loans or invest in the company. And John Bennett said if Resolution 8 gets passed, then yes. So somebody did ask the question today who seems as if he's like to invest in Rangers, and the board welcomed it.
All right. Well, I'm glad that Bridgeman got to ask his question.
Well, he didn't actually. I shouldn't really be saying this because I know we're out live, but he says to me, he landed at the airport and everything's fine. So he must have got the watches and that for Switzerland through, I take it. So he's well happy.
Oh, aye. I know he was going there to check his account on his way to the Sunshine Jaffa Road, Bridgeman.
First class, of course.
Private Learjet, I believe.
He put his apologies in for missing the AGM, but I believe he was getting a selfie done at the airport and that. But I think Mrs. Bridge had to pull him away because they was starting to get mobbed. But that could be a rumour. I'm not sure, but that's what I've heard.
You never know. You mentioned the director of football. There's somebody that's talked about a lot. We've had our views. We've all got our personal views. We've looked at the signings. What did you pick up with this outside then?
I picked up, he looked a wee bit bristly when the questions were getting asked. If the boy had asked the question and it had been right, the only thing wrong was he'd said that Bacuna cost $2 million, which we knew he was a free transfer. I think on some of the transfers in that he's done, I think he comes under a bit of scrutiny, to be honest. I think we've all looked at it. When you sign players we want already to go into the team in that auction, we've not had a chance to judge these 7 players that we've signed. You can judge him on other ones that we've talked about in the past that he's made. He says he seems to think he's doing a good job. Stuart Robertson said we're in a better place than we were 3 seasons ago with a squad. So he stuck up for him. And the player trading model is what he talks about. But like we've just discussed, there isn't really anybody in the next season, next year anyway, I see that we can put forward in the trading model. I think the trading model might come to fruition, but I think it's a 2 or 3 year away yet before we'll maybe see 2 or 3 players going out a succession of maybe 4 or 5 years. I don't think it's anywhere near ready at the moment, Ops.
Is he under a bit of pressure?
I think the board and him seem relaxed about it. I think Michael Beale will probably look for players, and if he's getting Michael Beale the players and he said he's signing them, as he said, he stated that he doesn't sign players. He takes recommendations for other coaches and staff and scouting staff, then he puts it to the manager. He said, and every single manager gets the final say, and that's what he said today.
All right. The media are running with this story about the mystery Dutch player we might have signed, we might not have signed. Yeah, some of the Dutch players that have been mentioned in the past have went for some heavy money, if I'm being honest, Jaffa, yeah?
So, yeah, I seen that earlier, Rox. I read that about it, about the art when that was discussed. So it can't be Joey Veerman because it was Gerrard that wanted Veerman. So it was a player that they said that Gio wanted and was presented to him, and they had agreed terms, but the player chose to sign for somebody else.
Mm-hmm. I think it was the centre half. It
was the centre half, wasn't it? Yeah.
Berlin. It went to Berlin. Yeah.
Donetsk or something.
That's right. So there's nothing you can do about that. I mean, that's just down to the personal terms. Probably getting a better wage offer for somebody else, and maybe just didn't fancy playing in Scotland. There could be a variety of reasons why the player's chosen not to come to us. But if that was the only one, that was who it was. And I've stated a few times, Ox, I'll always maintain it. I don't think Ross Wilson, and listen, he's not without his criticism. The way the guy has operated in the past, I think sometimes he's brought it upon himself. We standing there with Ramsey as if he'd signed him. That's what's causing the confusion. He wants to take a step back for that. If his job is purely director of football to present to the manager a selection of players, and it's then up to the manager to decide. And I've always maintained I didn't think any manager, Gerrard, Giovanni, or Michael Beale, I don't think they would work under those conditions where they were having players put upon them. I always believed it was the manager that had the final say on it, and I think that's the case for Arthur Lee Juniors to Barcelona. I know it's a team effort nowadays, especially at big clubs like ours. Michael Beale can't go traipsing about the country and still take training sessions 4 and 5 days a week. He's got to have a crowd of guys round about him and women that go and do those jobs for him. But Ross Wilson, I think, has brought a lot of the pressure upon himself by getting involved in trying to take some of the limelight. And I think that's, if there's a criticism, that's one of them. He should just get back to doing his job and doing his analytics, and digging out players, basically digging out the next Calvin Bassey or whoever he's looking at. And I hope Michael Beale's part of that process as well, Ox. Because I really like that model, and I think England's a great market for us, especially going down to Leicester City academies or Wolves academy, and picking up their under-23s or their under-21 players where you're getting them on a cross-border, and we can bring them up here. And a lot of these guys are ready for breaking into the first team, but they're not going to break into the first team with the kind of stars that a lot of these teams have got, for the money that they're spending on their first team pool. So I think there is a market down there, and I think that's a big market that we should be exploiting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so I think he's under a bit of pressure because obviously he's been involved in the recruitment of the last manager, and it was a popular choice, Giovanni. If we're being honest, Southside, I know he wasn't your choice. You were very, very consistent in that. But he was a popular choice, so he's been involved in that. In the domestic forum, particularly away from home, coupled with the Champions League debacle, let's be honest about it, we got so much right in the group stages that all the criticism came at once. He'll be under pressure because he's been involved in the selection of Mike Beale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. I mean, all right, he put Giovanni in, and by all accounts, won league in 3 seasons, and then plucked him for China after COVID, right, which was fair enough. It's no work to it. He championed him, sat there and said he's the man. We've got a list, and we look at progressive managers, and we look at them, we follow them, we track them, and then when we're going to have to replace a manager or whatever, he said we look forward and we can go and get our manager. My thoughts on it was, well, if he's been tracking Mick Beale, he's only been tracking him since he went to Hingme, because surely if Steven Gerrard's your manager, you tell me he sat in the background and watched Michael Beale take training. We were looking for a manager. I just think at the time, for what he said, we've always got a list. He's never actually said if we went through a list or how many people we interviewed, or if he didn't give the names, fine, but he's never really said how many we looked at. He very less said we'd looked at Michael Beale. He worked well behind the scenes, and that was it. So he's put his name to Michael Beale, mate, and as much as we all hope he's a success, but just talking from the other angle, if Mick Beale fails here, then he's out the door as well, mate. 100% he's got to go. This is his last chance saloon for me. But I hope 100% that Mike Beale works out for us and he gets the success and we go forward and he manages to get his players between the two of them and they come in straight away in the other success. But his record up to now has been patchy. We all know that. So the pressure's all on him, mate. Definitely, 100%.
Good choice of words, mate. I like it. Patchy, that's fair. Jaffer, isn't it? That's fair. You all right there, Jaffer?
I'm fine. I was just waiting.
Aye, patchy.
Waiting on the question.
Aye, do you think, obviously, it looks as if he's had the vote of confidence with the guys. We don't know the ins and outs and the everyday workings that's involved. We speculate a lot and we pick up bits and pieces, but we don't know everything. It looks as if he's at the backing for the board of directors, but if this doesn't go well and the Michael Beale appointment doesn't go well, he'll be a guy under pressure, Ross Wilson. And I hope he isn't, because that means it worked out and it means we're successful on the pitch, Jaffa.
100%, Ox, and he is under pressure from that respect. Because he has been involved in the process. Standing with Gio, and it was my list, and we sought him out and we went and got him and all that sort of stuff. And the same with Michael Beale. So that is on Ross Wilson in that respect. And to be honest with you, Ox, if it doesn't work out, I don't think I'm not sure what kind of contract Ross Wilson's on, but that whole department would need to start again with that, and get somebody else in to do the director of football role. But until such times, I guess, as you say, we speculate, until such times as you actually see how the Mick Beale project is going to develop, and if we start winning back in the pitch again, all of that will go quiet, and we'll get behind the team as per usual.
Michael Beale, if you don't mind, gentlemen.
Aye, no mix, sir.
Right, so Ross Wilson, board of directors, finances, reports that people will see in the media. Then we talked about some of the things that the projects, and obviously I've heard about the blue this morning in the media, or late last night. Southside, obviously we've been talking about disabled section for a couple of years. I quickly looked at some of the details I could pick up, and some of it looks as if there's a lot of positives. There should be, where it's dry and out the way and in the middle of the stands, if you like. Yeah, the three stands south side, and then we're going to try and put more seats in. So we actually end up taking seats away, but because of the work we do, we put in about an extra 1,000 seats going forward if the plans work out. Now, if that is something that you can get involved with, donate, buy the seats, get involved, I see that as a positive, mate.
Aye, it will be. They talked about it today and they showed you on their presentation, and it does look quite good. They've said that obviously they were going to lose originally 1,053 seats, but obviously they'll replace it and we'll actually be up something like 725 in total once it's all finished. I think there might have already took discussions with the people they'll have to move. Everybody likes to keep sitting in their seat. There is a chance it might be a better view if they get to go round the bits where they're going to go to. At the end of the day, we all like our seat and all that, but we've got to remember we rent our seat for Rangers and they're subject to move and that, and it's positive for the disabled supporters to get something, so you'd like to think everybody will engage in it, and the people that get moved, hopefully they'll get a cracking view when they get rehoused in Ibrox. But I think it's positive for the disabled section, people that sit at the bottom of the enclosure. It's long overdue, something that the club's been asked repeatedly in many a year at the AGM. So it was positive, and they're saying possibly work could start in 2023. So I'm sure they're looking for either some way for investment, or they'll have some type of investment that maybe for the board level themselves putting into the club.
Yeah.
Chaff,
I know it's something that's very close to your heart, mate.
I think, obviously, Ox, it is something I use regularly, so I think it'll be great, and I think the club deserve a lot of credit for putting the funding in place to do it. I think it's about £2 million initially to actually do the work for the actual disabled sections that they're going to do. But as I understand it, Southside, and I believe the funding isn't in place for the next stage. It's the second stage that the funding's not in place for, and that's what they need. That's what they need the resolution 8 for today, so that they could then go to the shareholders to seek investment, the current shareholders, and further investment afield from people like the chap in the audience today who wanted to invest in the club. And as you say, Ox, if they whatever way they do any other fundraising to actually enable that project to take place, because I think that's about £6 million is required to do the whole project.
Aye. And let's be honest, it was the fans that built Ibrox for day one, if we're honest, with their contributions, and the fans that will contribute again at different levels. Southside, they contribute. We've talked about a Southside. You feel there's a lot of people out there who would love to donate to the club. Is that the right term? Well, whatever, they want to be involved with the club. Yeah.
Aye, I know people that don't go to Ibrox. They used to go many years ago, but they don't go now, and they don't contribute anything. And they were just talking one night, and so everybody probably gives to a charity or two that's close to your heart. You'll donate to whatever. I give you a couple of charities that's close to me, and I'm sure everybody out there would usually do give you something. And I always said, see if Rangers came, heap my my mate actually says to me, says, see if Rangers turned around and says to me, we need money. He was talking about us in the playing staff, like generate money for the squad. So he says to me, see if Rangers just turned around and said, look, we need money. We want to invest in our club. And I know it's similar to my Jers, but you get nothing in back in return for this. Even if you could donate £3 a month to Rangers, that's all you have to give them, say minimum £3. Can you imagine if you got having 100,000 people donating £3 a month into Rangers minimum? You know, and whatever they use it for.
It's let's call it £4 million a year, yeah.
For a minimum, right? But if you could give a five or whatever, you get nothing in return for this. You just get into the love because you support Glasgow Rangers and you love them and it's close to your heart. He says to me, I could probably afford to give a tenner a month for the bother. He says, because I give nothing, I would do that. He says, I would do it. If Rangers would just say, like, just treat it like a charity. We'll put into this separate account and it's only going to get used for this. If it's either the playing squad, if it was to help get that disabled stuff all done, it goes into one pot and they use it for that. And he said he would donate. And I mean, what's the matter with £3 a month? I'm sure if we all chipped in £3 a month into an account.
No, I've said this before, but the projects with Club 1872, especially when we've talked to Craig Houston, it was something that it would float my boat, Jaffa, to get involved, to put some regular donations in to help with the stadium, to help with the disabled section to move forward, so the place is constantly improving.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoke with Southside about this privately off air before Ox. I think that's a great idea. It's so simple and highly effective. And if the club just designed themselves and went and just asked the fans to contribute, at that kind of level. I mean, with the amount of fan base that we've got around the world, or the supporters clubs, putting another £3 or £5 or whatever you could afford to donate to Rangers on a monthly basis, I think I don't know anybody who wouldn't do that, to be honest with you. Especially if it was going towards, whether it be the player budget to buy players, or whether it was going towards, as you say, projects, whether it was going to the stadium upkeep or the stadium development. I mean, to have that kind of funding trickling in to pay for projects or players or whatever, I don't know a Rangers fan in the world that wouldn't do that. I genuinely don't. I think it would be a great success. But I think the secret to it would be to keep it small. But obviously, because of the numbers of supporters we have globally, it would be highly effective.
That's your trouble, mate. That's the story of your life. Right. Southside, would the counter argument not be that for £40 a year, which is no far away for £3 a month, you can join my Jers and that money goes straight to the first team?
Aye, I know that. I get that, but everybody's only in my Jers because you go to Gwynfor to get your tickets. What other benefit really of my Jers is there, apart from the money goes into the world? They've turned it around and said we'll put the money into the playing squad, right? I get that. But see, for £3, probably you somebody's mum, somebody's dad, somebody's sister that doesn't go to Ibrox or whatever, but still supports Rangers or is a fan of Rangers, whatever you want to say, and they might think, well, I could afford £3 a month.
Could Fox donate for all his exes?
Aye, definitely. He can afford it. Right. He's got a few quid. But you know what I'm saying? It's just something that I've always thought about. And I thought, if it's only a minimum of £3, and all you need to do is just make sure you put into this short code and account number and it just goes in the bank, you can afford it, stick it in that month. Do a direct debit or just find a way of putting it in and you just put it in and you get nothing in return. Nothing. Apart from your love of Glasgow Rangers Football Club. It's close to your heart. Same as any other charity you donate to. And I'm sure a lot of people donate. It costs you more than £3 a month for other charities that we all donate to. But it's just something I think could work.
Yeah, you're just thinking out loud, all right. I'm sure we'll come back to it. Once again, we digress, Jaffa, but obviously my Jers has been, for the club, I suppose it's been reasonably successful. I accept Southside's argument. that a lot of people are involved in it, because it's a new way that tickets are distributed, but also accept some of the clubs' argument that the fan base wanted a membership scheme, and it gave people who weren't season ticket holders a chance to be involved with the club. Yeah, so there's a few bases ticked there.
I have to be honest with you, Ox. I mean, I'm in my Gers for the sole reason of what it was designed for. I don't have a season ticket currently, for personal reasons, but I want to still go to matches. So I'm in my Gers to be able to access the European games and cup games and various other games. So I'm exactly the fan that my Gers was designed for, and I pay whatever it costs, £40-50 a year, to get there, to be in that. And I went into it as soon as it started. And there's a number of us in the family that are in my Gers. I think it's pretty efficient. It does what it does for me. It enables me to get European tickets, and various other tickets for travelling abroad or whatever. If I want to go to away games, it's been successful for that. So I think the my Gers, but I think the suggestion at Southside, and he's championed this a few times privately, incidentally, with us. I know it's not the first time I've heard them chatting about it. I think it's a great shout and a great call. And if anybody for the club are listening, and they've got a thinking box, then I would stick that in there, or even better, stick it in Stuart Robertson's desk tomorrow morning and see what he thinks about it.
I don't know how you would stand with donations getting in and how it would stand with the taxman, etc. But it seems a vehicle for us to get money into the club. We're always looking for projects to float my boat Southside, to improve the match day experience. And by the way, you're going to tell Southside Junior that his seat's only rented, he's getting moved.
What was I going to say? Well, how you contribute into my Gers, didn't you?
Yes.
So, what's the problem? No, if you're only do a £3 thing, minimum of £3. I mean, there could be somebody out there that isn't contributing, can't go to the games, right? Sitting there, you know what pensioners are like. They've all got a few quid, but they could be sitting there going, do you know what? I would contribute £3. They might say my son might contribute £3, or their lassie or somebody else, and it's they're not contributing into Rangers whatsoever. And it's just because you love the club and it's dear to your heart. So if you can afford that, and I'm sure a lot of people probably could and would try as much as they could to contribute. It was just an idea. But it'll probably never take off, but it was an idea.
Nothing wrong with that, mate. Nothing wrong with that. And it's because you care. Nothing wrong with that. Right, okay, so hopefully, if it works out the way the drawings we've seen today, Jaffa, it's a big tick in the box going forward in the next couple of years for the disabled section, yeah? I think
it's brilliant. Yeah.
Let's get it done,
Absolutely, Ox, and I think it's brilliant. I heard those words again today, best in class. It'll be a tremendous move forward for disabled supporters at our stadium, both visiting and our own fans, of which there are many fans, wheelchair users, stick users, all sorts of disabilities, blind guys and girls that want to still get to the stadium, and the facilities are just... Listen, I think you've also got to take into account our stadium's an old listed building. It's an old stadium. And it's beautiful, and we all know it's beautiful, but it does hold you back for modernising your club in certain areas. So it's been overlooked, and obviously where we've come from in the last 10 years, Oxley, the lack of investment in the stadium and the infrastructure, it's a great move forward. And again, I think everybody involved in it, from the group that they put in place last year to actually deliver the idea and put it into place, and obviously then get it to a design stage and get obviously plans drawn up and so forth, then I think the club deserve a lot of credit for doing that. And that will be something that will stand them instead for for years to come. And again, developing the stadium can never be a bad thing from my perspective.
No, I think what we've learned Southside is you've got to keep evolving the stadium. Yeah, you can't stand still. And obviously, if you get that done, then obviously there's a lot of things that need done, but you need cash to date, mate, as you rightly pointed out, mate.
I think the board alluded to stuff that hadn't been done over the years. I mean, we watched it get built, Oxen Jaffa, and it was some stadium when it was first built, and it just needs a bit more TLC, and it's stuff that's got to be done, Oxen. It's stuff we probably don't think about, because we just, like we say, we go to support our team and want to see them win on a Saturday or whatever day they want to play the games now, and come home again, and when we've won, that's us, we're happy, because that's what it means to us. So, but obviously the stadium does need stuff, even probably in the enclosure, mate, probably the toilets and all that and stuff in the enclosure, some of the seating areas and stuff. It probably needs a bit of an upgrade as well, if I'm honest, over time. There's bits and bobs that will need done, but the most important thing was that the disabled bit's going to get done, or are looking to move it forward. And that's positive for all the supporters that have been done where they've been for the last wee while in the enclosure. And so that's a positive that came for the AGM today, mate.
We overran there. Didn't realise the time. Get yourself some mute, because we're going to have a tune.
From Argyle, so young, to Glasgow City, they come, seeking fortune and a new way of life. How could they know ambitions would grow? Such a beautiful story, and here's how it goes. For lads had a dream to start a football team. They had no money, no kit, not even a ball. They still carried on. The Rangers were born. 55 titles, we're still going strong. So hoist up your Rangers flags, sing with your heart and voice, celebrate the greatest club in the world. Let our history show what we already know. We are the Rangers, the greatest of all. Start a football team. They have no money, no kit, not even a ball. They still carried on. The Rangers are gone. 65 titles, we're still going strong. To start a football team. They had no money, no kit, not even a ball. They still carried on. The Rangers are gone. 55 titles, I'm still going strong. 55 titles, we're still going strong.
Why don't you give us a call on 0141 356 1972. It's your show, it's your platform. Let's hear from you.
All right, gentlemen, we've touched on some of the headline things today. Obviously, the disabled section, the money getting into the club, the soft loans with the directors, how successful we were last year. Southside, where are we? As of June the 30th, know where we are now, because obviously the results haven't been great, if I'm being honest, but as of June the 30th, where are we? Where do you see the club? Where are we compared to 5 year, 10 year ago?
We're in a far better place. We're in a far better place now, but I just thought that we had the chance to sort of kick on, and I just feel like we've no kicked on.
On the park?
On the park, aye, especially, and probably with the squad that we've got. It's hard to judge them all, as we know, but for where we were, I just think this season was a chance where we thought Gio would have made his mark. We'd come off, obviously, getting to a European final. Okay, we lost 2 players and stuff, but when he was going to go ahead, we were looking forward to probably that season, starting this season. And I just feel as if we went, until we probably see a full squad fit, Ox, and obviously now we've got a new manager and the things are going to be different. I was frustrated today when, I don't know if it was Stuart Robertson or Ross Wilson said, well, we've got a good playing squad. Well, if we had a good playing squad, probably Gio would still be in a job. You know? And we obviously don't have a good playing squad, because we're 9 points behind in the league.
Or at least they think the squad's out.
I feel as if he thinks, Ross Wilson thinks, well, Michael Beale's back, he'll be get up at the arm around the shoulder of these players and they'll get good out of them and they'll like him and it'll be a different training, it'll be upbeat. I get all that. I get it'll bring the feel good, frankly, it'll be a totally different approach. It'll be more professional, possibly. He'll want to have his own ideas and there'll be a freshness. I get all that. But I just feel as if that's what he's pinned his hopes on, and he'll get a tune out of some of this squad, and then we'll go forward with Michael Beale. I just think we went stale under when Beale was there as well, under Steven Gerrard, mate. Teams were just playing their players out wide and stopping their fullbacks going forward. You know, we watched Dundee United there when they had Tony Watt going out wide and just playing on Borna and no letting them moving up the park and marking them out. We were rotten at times under Steven Gerrard. I mean, don't kid ourselves. We had some great games and good performances, but we had some dreadful games and dreadful performances as well.
Aye,
and he was part of that coaching staff. So, but we've got to look forward. I'm looking forward and hoping with his fresh ideas, and he'll have a good philosophy, and the things that maybe frustrated him under the other manager when he was learning and watching, he'll maybe bring that to the fore. So I'm hoping that it'll be positive now, mate. But I think for when we won the league to now, I know we got to the European final. We didn't win it, you know. But I think playing wise and football wise in Scotland, we've went backwards.
All right, an honest assertion. So what you gain the AGM then out of 10?
I would say I'd like to have had a lot more questions asked, different questions that they didn't get asked. But I would have probably said it's better than the year before. So it's more positive results. It's probably about an 8 out of 10. All
right, okay. And I'll take this question to Jaffa as well. If you were going to go up, and I know that some get in the way of you getting along the other day, Jaffa, but if you were going to ask a question, so I said, if you felt that strongly, what would the question you would ask?
I think I'd have asked him a few. I think I'd like to have asked him a few. I think I would probably have been wanting to probably know. I would probably have asked Ross Wilson a question regarding the players that would go in, and I know he answered some, but the boy didn't ask the right questions. Probably more prepared by a list and went through a few, and I waited to see how he answered them. And I think I'd have asked the board, why did they sanction the Sydney Cup, and if we're getting sued for it, as we've seen, is that happening? And if it is, are you counteracting it, or is there going to be more money that we'll probably possibly have to pay? If they could answer that question, if it's legal proceedings, they might say no. But I would have asked them something like that along the lines straight away about that, and how's the club going forward in the next 3 years? Have we got good capital and fresh injection that we can get into the club? I think I'd like to know that as well.
Right, we'd have to extend the AGM for an hour and a half. But I get it. The Sydney Cup. We talked about it often on here, Jaffa. Was it a great idea? We stopped it. I've got a view that some of the headlines in the paper were exactly what they were in the tin. Headlines in the paper. You know, because we deal with a lot of negativity, mate.
Well, I think to go back to your question, Ox, I think along the same lines as Southside, Matt, if I'd been there today and I'd had the opportunity to ask, my question would have been directed at Ross Wilson and the 7 signings that we signed, and why. I know a couple of them, I know the injuries to some of them, but you know, what was the what was the thinking? What were we really planning there? Because those 7 signings have contributed, whatever way you want to look at it, why Gio's not there anymore, and added to that a few more injuries. But those 7 signings, Suter, Ridvan, Matondo, you know, why did we arrive at that? Why did we sign those players when we've not really had any contribution to them? That would have been my question to Ross Wilson today. Other than that, Ox, where are we? You know, from where we were, it's a difficult. You know, it's difficult in the sense that we've lost a manager. I think a lot of it. I don't think it's as. And I know this has been said already. I don't think it's as bad as what a lot of people think. I think on the park is where it all. That's the engine room of the club. Mm-hmm. And once that all comes back, and once players start coming back for injury, and I definitely do believe there was other things going on behind the scenes, as we've alluded to, and I don't want to keep going over it. Whether players had checked out, no playing for the manager, call it whatever you want. I definitely think there was a period there, probably of about the last, during the Champions League run, I think where, you know, after the Liverpool result, whatever happened after that, I think there was definitely a downward spiral from the playing staff, and that isn't acceptable. That is not. I'm not saying it isn't acceptable, but and it's just taken a couple of months, 2.5 months or so to unravel. But by that time, we've caused ourselves more problems in the league. But they've rectified it. Hopefully, or at least they've attempted to rectify it. Gio's gone. They can only do if the manager, you know, when they need to get rid of somebody, when a football club needs to get rid of somebody, they've got to do it. Because, use your expression, Ox, sometimes it costs more money having them there than it does to let them go, for a variety of reasons. So we've got Michael Beale in now, and we'll just need to let him do his thing and see if he can get a tune out of the players and get a tune out of the squad, and hope that we can. I certainly think we're a lot better than what we've been producing, that's for sure.
Okay. Listen, Michael Beale, what's your initial thoughts and how he came across today? Southside.
Good sound bites. Usual, the boys trained well and they worked hard, and we've had 6 sessions, and I think he's trying to implement his stamp and a sort of style of play and all that. I get that, but it's all sound bites, Ox. Until we play Hibs and we get the 3 points, and you can talk all you want, to be honest. And Jaffa, I agree to a point, and I know he's got to get a tune out these players, but these players have let us down. You know, we were 2 points and now we're 9 points. And honestly, mate, we've all watched them, whether on the telly or at the game and whatever, we've watched them. And some of them were going through the emotions, and that's what disgusts me, that these players now are going to say, oh, I'll have a change of attitude and a change of heart, and I'll go out there and maybe play for Michael Beale. No, they should be shown the door. One thing you're meant to tick box is, you know, football players is attitude box, isn't it? Yep. And a lot of their attitude, when they started going through the emotions, and we're dropping points to St Mirren and Livingston and dross like that, St Johnstone, and then we're meant to be happy that these players now are going to come out and try. That just disgusts me, Ox. No, and I just hope Michael Beale's ruthless and he just clears half of them out because they don't deserve to be there. With the way they've went out there and performed in a Rangers jersey. And that's the hard thing. And I know players do it, and that's the thing. They don't have the emotion that we have for the club. That's the sad fact. They might say they do, but they don't have any emotion opposite with us three and everybody else out there that's go up for Glasgow Rangers. They just go out there and they play in their jersey and they get handsomely paid for it.
Do you mean that they wouldn't? They're not crazy enough to do a radio station 5 nights a week and talk about the Rangers for 2 hours? Or just because
it's not just that, Ox. It's just that your way of life. Rangers is your way of life. Mm-hmm. You know, they'll never ever. They can say they're Rangers fans. There might be one or two. Maybe Arfield would come on the show. I show as much passion as you. I'm a Rangers fan, right? Fine. But some of us are good and we go everywhere and we support our team and it affects us in our daily lives how Rangers are doing. And some of them, when they come off that park, sometimes they can't even applaud us in the stands. You know. So for me, half of them are lucky that they're still at Glasgow Rangers, but I hope going forward that Michael Beale starts to implement his own players because we need a squad refreshed, ready to go next season. And if he wants to cajole some of them at the end of the season, that's up to him. But if he keeps them beyond that, then he better watch because he might cost him his job, mate. And that's not what I want. I want to see Rangers winning.
There's a couple of things in there that Southside says. Obviously, Jaffa, you can come in. The 7 signings, you know, we've not seen a lot of them. Some of them don't look good enough. If you let's be kind to the boy. He looks like a project. The boy Matondo, no a guy that's ready for the first team. Yeah, in my opinion. Other people might say different. The rest, through injuries, injury records with the boy Suter. When you look. Maybe looked a reasonable signing last season, but if you look back over 3 seasons, he's hardly played. You know, Ben Davies comes in, injured, Ridvan injured, Lawrence injured. Could be just bad luck. I tend to sway towards the south side argument, Jaffa, but how you revamp a squad fit quickly now in football is very difficult.
It is, Ox, aye. And I mean, the only thing I would say, I think it's incremental because I don't think they're as fit as they should be. So that's one issue. That's one part of it. They definitely aren't as fit as what they once were under their previous teams. Let's not say as they were. Beale, when he was working with Gerrard, the team was much fitter. It was they were pressing a lot better. We obviously under Gio played a different system where it was more possession based. I believe that was how Tavernier described it. It was possession football. It didn't, for me. It was terrible to look at, and it was the exciting, and it wasn't really football that I like to watch. So if we do go back to the press and the high intensity, which I think we've got to do because that's why we've been getting beat. Because teams like St Johnstone, as Southside said, should never be beating Glasgow Rangers, not with the quality of players that we've got, but they did. And Livingston drew us and they outthought us and outfought us, and that should never happen either. So from that perspective, Ox, the team needs to get fitter, and I hope Michael Beale can do that and get them fitter. Then you've got to hope that some of the players buy back into his thinking, and they should never have bought out the thinking in the first place because they're Rangers players and they're picking up decent wages, but they have, and we know players do it, and it is disgusting and it's dreadful. But to get them through to the end of the season, or for him to reassess where he's going to be, but there has to be a clear out. I mean, and there will be a clear out. There's got to be numerous players are leaving. They're coming to the end of contracts. So from that perspective, Ox, there's a number of different factors at play now. But that's up to Michael Beale to manage that and get the best out of the players that he possibly can now and get them back on side. And that's why, you know, the sound bites that we're hearing now. But for me, ultimately, I'm in the camp of Southside. I just want to see the team. The fitness levels have got to go up. I mean, some like huge levels from where they were, because there's too many players, and I suspect that's probably why we're picking up a lot of injuries, because I don't think the players are fit enough.
Fitness, that should be a given, if I'm being honest, Southsider.
100%. I mean, I know a lot of players have played a lot of games as well, Ox, you know. We went to the well with quite a lot of players, and they played a lot of games, and high intensity games, big matches. Didn't get a big break, summer break. We're all back quite early, and then they were asking them to go again at the start of the season. You've got these two massive Champions League qualifiers, but I said it before, probably people will be sick listening to it. Fitter under Stevie G, Michael Beale, etc. I think, in my opinion, didn't look as fit. Might have been a lot of games. I heard Ross Wilson saying the day that the players were always going to have a lot of games. Look at all the clubs throughout Britain. They've all got injuries. They're all struggling with injuries. The amount of games that we had to play because of the World Cup. He put it down to that. If you take away the long-term injuries that we have, as in Suter, Hadji, Hollander and Roof, probably the Tom Lawrence one. Bill saying that he got injured playing, didn't he? Then he got injured trying to come back in the training field. Ridvan, obviously, and Davis have been trying to get them up to fitness. But the whole team didn't look fit. So hopefully Michael Beale will see a difference. There'll have to be Ox because we're going to play this high intensity football with a handbrake off. So we'll need to be fit, won't they?
Aye. We'll see what it takes us. Come and give your thoughts. We're talking about AGM, but we'll talk about anything Rangers related. We're just starting to start the show back up. We're ready after the World Cup break. We've got a friendly on Saturday, and then we build up to the Hounds game come Monday. So come and give us your thoughts on 0141 356 1972. Aye, it's look, the AGM's coming. The AGM, I always on them a worthwhile day out, if I'm being honest, Jaffa. And but sort of underwhelming. You're never going to get the answers you want, or you're going to get, because you're going back in history, and we want answers for today and tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit deflating, to be honest with you, because obviously, as you say, you're going back over the financial results, which aren't really relevant anymore, because it's gone now. That period's passed. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's relevant in the sense that it's provided the club's in a good standing, and the situation's no worsening, and you'd hope financially it's getting better, and I think that's definitely the case for the club. The financial position is getting better, but the fans, and I'm no different. We want to talk. We want to hear what's happening. I'd rather get a report for the training ground and give me an injury update about who's back fit and who's ready to come back fit, and what's the team likely going to be when we turn up against Leverkusen on Saturday. So I would rather hear about that personally than sit talking about AGMs and inward investments and John Bennett's investment. I know it's relevant, but I don't really care a lot for it, to be honest, Ox.
No, we talk about it because we can read a balance sheet, mate. We don't talk about it because it's for passion. But passion's getting the ball put in the nets outside it.
Aye, 100%. But obviously, it's things that comes along every year. And the good thing about it, Ox, is we know now over this period of time that the club's sort of on a sort of financial better situation than what it has been previous in the last even 5 years. So that, as we're hoping for now, is the football side now will take off between now and the end of the season. We'll get to lift a trophy or two. We'll get to maybe see our team back with a structure and going forward and playing good football. And that's all we're looking for, isn't it, really? That's all we hope as a support. As long as Rangers win on a Saturday or any other day of the week, we're all happy. And that's what makes your whole week. When the Rangers win, Ox, and that's what it's about, isn't it?
Can I ask you two fine gentlemen something? It's a yes or a no answer. Is that fair?
Okay.
Yep.
Right. It's not a tough one. It's just a yes or a no answer. Would you have sacked Giovanni Van Bronckhorst? Jaffa?
Yes.
Southside?
Yes.
All right. Well, I don't want you to elaborate.
Well, you could do it if you want. It's up yourself. You could do a wee yes or no answer if you want to go through a couple of the squad players and just give a yes or a no. Would you keep or would you get rid of them? And then we'll whittle it right down to what we think we'll be left with.
We need to put a team on the park next week.
I know, but it's what it's coming down to. We'll need to put a team on the park. I'm not worried about Well, I'm worried a bit going forward because I want him to get players on the part. I think they'll all get their finger out and try. I don't think he'll stick any players on that he's unsure about. But no, I'm just talking about as if you look through the squad, we both agree probably Kent and Alfie we would let go, didn't we? And probably Kamara and Ryan Jack, Stephen Davis would be the other ones for me.
Well, Ryan Jack and Stephen Davis's contracts are up in the summer, Jeff.
Yeah, and so's McGregor. I mean, I think there's about four players' contracts are expiring.
Obviously, Arfield, yeah.
McGregor.
Stephen Davis.
I wouldn't renew any of them personally.
So you say?
100%, I agree.
Right. So you're moving on, so then you're bringing in bodies, and I'm not sure where we sit with John McLaughlin. I've not checked that out, and I didn't think we would get that. So I think it was a good sale. Southside that says we're first signing going forward. Well, either from next summer or in January, we need to be a goalkeeper, yeah?
I think long term we've got to look at a goalkeeper. Yeah, 100%. I know people might be thinking Robbie McCrory, no disrespect to him, but he's becoming our Andy Firth, isn't he? You know, he's been out at loan, he's been at Livingston, lost his place. I don't personally, just my personal opinion, I don't think he's good enough to play at Rangers, and there'll probably people that saying, well, he's not been really gave a chance, but I don't think he's going to be our goalkeeper going forward. So in my opinion, Ox, I think it's imperative that we start looking for a number one goalkeeper going forward.
Well, we might have to look for a number one and number two. You know, I'm not sure about the John McLaughlin contract situation as Jaffer. I'll try and check that out. But would you understand where he's coming from there, the big game with the goalkeeper?
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see McCrory get an opportunity, but I'm not sure if he's ready to step up and be a number one. He could potentially step up, at least be a number two and get the cup games and try and see if there is a goalkeeper there. I know we've just recently given McCrory an extension, so the argument would be, I know that was under Gio, the argument would be that somebody somewhere in the academy or in behind the scenes clearly does think there's a goalie there. We've not seen it. We've only seen the odd game. But I do definitely think we do need to sign a number one goalkeeper. I would say that is probably the first signing that Michael Beale needs to deal with.
All right. So we really don't know who's going to be fit. We've got a friendly to play in a training sessions before we play the Hibs. So the way our lot's going, we could lose another half a dozen players by in Southside. But if we assume that Ryan Jack's fit, Glenn Kamara's fit. Who else? Kemar Roof's fit going forward. Don't know about Redvan. Don't know about Connor Goldson. Obviously, Tom Lawrence looks as if it could be early New Year. You know, so that's the players that's coming back in. But Ellis has done. What's your team?
Just for us friendly on Saturday?
No. Against Hibs. Friendly to friendly. Because then I'll go through it and say what you're going to do with the players.
Well, if Borna goes any further than that in the World Cup, he'll not be back.
He'll not be Borna, no. Be back.
I'd like to hope Redvan's fit, and I'd like to put Ben Davis beside him, and I think probably I would play Sands because I don't think anybody else will be fit. Even if a young boy's fit, I wouldn't play him. And I would play Tav. See, this kills me because I'm going to have to pick players I think shouldn't even be there. You know? He's going to play a 4-3-3, isn't he?
Yep.
Lundstrom. I'll be Lundstrom, Kamara. I think he'll play Kamara. I don't know if there's true in any rumours he wants to leave. I don't know anything about it. I've heard my wee mate sent me something, but I don't know. So, fit, it'll probably be Kamara, Lundstrom, and who on the right? Scott Wright up front. Cholak. This is murder, man. This is over a week away. See, you get back to play. I mean, I don't want Kent playing. I want to change it, but I just it frustrates you, doesn't it?
It's Southside's team. Know what you think.
I know. I would only have one. I would have just played. I probably played Lundstrom and Kamara, and I would have probably played. I would have just have played Kent, Cholak, and I would have had Scott Wright on the right, and I need to put another player in there, don't I? So it'll be Tillman. I think Tillman will become a big player under Beale. I think he'll like to work. I think he'll like to work with that boy. I think he's got vision and a bit of skill. I think he just needs more motivation and understand the game better.
So we started against. That's basically one change, I think, for who started against St Mirren, near enough.
I know, but you're struggling. Because you're struggling to sort of work out. I mean, who's even fit?
The front six, if you like, because obviously it was Kent, right? Obviously, Alfie started that day, and you swapped him, and then Kamara, Lundstrom, and Tillman. That was the front six.
Yeah, probably Jack and Lundstrom, Tillman.
All right, mate, I know it's difficult because we don't know who's coming back. But Jaffa, the players, obviously, Ryan Jack's contract's up, and Ellis's contract's up. He was near it for Ryan Kent's contract's up. They're not going to be there. Would Jaffa pick them, or does he think Beale will pick them? Michael Beale, sorry.
I think I would go with the same back four, South Side. I'm hoping Ridvan's available because Borden will not be back, and I would play Sands and Davies centre backs and Tav obviously. Middle of the park, I'd have Lundstrom and Kamara, and I would probably go with. I'd probably if Lowry's available, I'd probably have Lowry in that middle three, or possibly Lowry one up. But I think Lowry and Tillman are going to play a big part under Beale. I wouldn't have Kent or Morelos in the team. I'd play Cholak up front. I would drop the two of them.
All right, okay. Aye, okay. All right,
so Calla, certainly, if he's available, possibly is again a possibility.
Injured, yeah. You know, another one that was injured. But we'll see how fit he is. Yeah, we are short. Southside, we are short.
Aye, see, that's the thing. You know, that's the problem he's got. He's coming in and he's saying we're getting a couple of players back. Well, that was obviously Ryan Jack he was talking about. Coming back because he turned up and played for Scotland. So, it's hard to try and pick a sort of squad because you'd like to really refresh it. You're hoping that we would see at least 6 or 7 of the new players that we've purchased going forward if they get fit and they fit into Michael Beale's system, which you think they will. You think Davis and Ridvan will play, and you think that Tom Lawrence would probably get a bit of game time in Tillman. The one you're thinking about Matondo, really, isn't it? And I think Cholak plays. I think he's a goal scorer. He comes alive in the box, and I don't see any reason why we should be changing that.
Right. I've been joined by Old Davy. Evening, Old Davy.
Evening, ladies.
Yes, mate, yes.
Hi, Davy.
Hi, boys. I was just listening in to the AGM. Good and dodgy answers and questions. I was a wee bit perturbed when we get asked about when Ross Wilson they were talking to him about the squads and he says we're more than me and Mike are happy with it. I don't get that. How can you be happy with that squad at the moment? Maybe through a couple of months, and we've not got a couple of months. And I could, from what I picked up on the conversation, was the training that we've been doing was rotten. And that's how he's saying take the handbrake off now and let's go. But it's going to take him a bit of time to get that handbrake off that lot. Because that's what's worrying me, guys.
It's not a magic wand he's got, it's a whistle in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get it, Davey. Good point. I mean, you know, I don't know. First of all, if you don't think they're fit enough, Jaffe, you've got to get them up to fitness before you can play the way you want, and then you're trying to get your tactics across. Some of the players are new, because let's be honest, the players that have come in, Ridvan, Davis, Tillman, who else? Cholak, they don't know Michael Beale.
No, they don't, Ox, and obviously he's got to familiarise himself with them, and obviously the biggest thing for me, Davey, is the fitness levels, and how intense he can get training. And bearing in mind, there's a couple of those guys coming back for injuries, so he can't go full pelt. It's not a pre-season. It's not even a mini pre-season. You know, he said today he said 6 training sessions. As Ox said, it's not a magic wand he's got. You know, he's just got to try and manage it and get the best out of him that he possibly can. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's going to... Look, the guys are not... It's not as if they're a million miles away from fitness levels, but at the professional level of football that we're playing in Scotland, we were a mile off it, and that'll give you an idea of how bad the fitness levels were, because teams like St Johnstone and Livingston were holding us, especially with the quality individuals that we've got in our team. So I would hope that alone, the fitness levels, will be a massive plus. It's then getting a team and getting the team to play in a completely different system to what they've been doing under Giovanni for the last 12 months. Listen, you've got your faith in the guy. You've got to put some faith in him that he knows what he's doing. You know, and he is a tactician. So we've got to hope that he knows what he's doing and that he can put a team together that's going to be able to go out and play teams like Hibs off the park. Because I think that's what the fans are demanding. You know, and get some of these players back from fitness ultimately.
Yeah, what I was trying to point out there actually was, since we've been talking about this, about we're not fit enough here, we're not fit enough there. If I'm not wrong and mistakenly, it came out in the conversation at the AGM, the training was totally different when Gio took over. So he's went into a different regime to where we were. Obviously, we were fitter then. We went the opposite. We're way back to being whatever it is his system was. But I just can't see us getting that right away. That's what I'm worried about. You know, because that just doesn't happen overnight, that.
No, maybe what could improve Southside is you can improve the fitness and improve the attitude.
It's probably Davey as well, your awareness off the ball, the shape you've got to be in, the style that he wants you to drop into, gaps he'll want you to fill into. I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good for Tillman. I think because we say he looks lazy and he looks disinterested and his body shape's wrong, but I think he'll learn to actually play the game in a system now. But he was probably playing it by a minute before, then he's came here, and Gio wanted our wingers out wide to go and take the fullback on. He wanted the handbrake on our fullbacks at the start, because that's what he done. And I think he realised I can't do this in Scottish football because it'll no work, and we had to try and get around me. But I think he did train them probably different, Davey, to a different style and system. But we were never anywhere near as fit. And I agree with you, you'll probably get the fitness up to what you want it to be. We will probably next year at the start of the season. But I think we'll get a shape and a style that will be able to control a fitness level where we'll look quite strong in games.
Yeah.
David, any comment?
Yeah, well, another couple of points I would like to talk about was when we're talking about Morelos and Kent. I don't know why they're going down that road. That should be finished, because it's not going to happen. And what they're telling you there is at the AGM is we can't agree with them because they're wanting more money. Now, how could we offer them more money with the dross that they're serving up there now? That just doesn't make sense to me.
I think the ship sailed, mate. I think that you'll know, put it right out there. Because, as Jaffa says, if you get it right and you get X amount in for them, it's X amount more than you've got this now, Jaffa. I don't think you'll throw them under the bus, but I think Davy's point is that the ship sailed, and I don't think he's alone in that.
No, Davey, I agree. I mean, the only thing I would say, it was brought up by a fan in the auditorium today. He asked the question about them allowing them to run their contracts down.
Yeah,
and I think they tried, they attempted to defend that and say, look, it's a two-way street. You know, the player's got to want to stay here, and he's got to want to sign the contract. And more importantly, probably his family have got to want to sign the contract, because that's as important as what the player is and getting the player happy. But obviously, I believe then Dougie Park interjected at that point and said, well, there's only so much you can offer. You know, you can't go offering them. You know, it becomes unattainable. So basically, I guess the reading between the lines of that is we've offered them X, and they're asking for Y, and there's too big a difference in there. It's not even as if you're close. So I think it's finished, and I think we all agree. I think the players probably agree that as well. You can see that for their attitude. So I think it's best for all parties if their agents go and find them a club, and then they come back to the table and see if Rangers can negotiate a fee out it, and as good a strong a fee as they can possibly get. And that's really that's cutting the bones yet, quite frankly. Because for us, it's getting two guys off the wage bill at 30 grand a week or whatever they're costing. So that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in our wage bill, our weekly wage bill. And that'll allow, I'm sure Michael Beale will be delighted with that money. And if Ryan Kent doesn't want to be here anymore, even if he did want to be here, his head's probably been turned if he's been offered a deal down south. We can't compete with Everton and all the rest of them. So time to just move on and cut your losses, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I thought, but when Michael Beale and Ross Wilson were speaking, I thought I heard Ross Wilson saying that Michael Beale's more than happy to keep them. I don't get that.
I don't think he'll throw them under the bus, mate, because they're still assets. Does that make sense?
No.
He's not going to come out publicly and throw them under the bus.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, that's all I would say to that. Is that fair, Southside?
Aye, 100%. Just in case David they're going to sit and watch the AGM and he's saying, well, I'll get rid of them at the first opportunity. Do you know what I mean? I think we can read between the lines. I've said on here earlier, David, just my opinion, the two of them for me can go. I don't think Ryan Kent's returning the amount of time he's been here, goals and assists, that we can afford to pay him 35 grand a week and expect him to be our talisman going forward. And Alfie, for me, he's been good in the time he was there and the year before that, but for me it's time to cut our losses. I would just say go and pick a club in France or Italy or Spain or wherever you want to go, and if you can work out a deal, we'll try and work out a fee, and if it's agreeable with us, we'll let you go in January. Whether it leaves us short of strikers, because let's not kid ourselves, he's not been contributing, and Kent for me is another one. I think money could be spent elsewhere, Davey, in my opinion, but maybe a better player.
Can I just ask a wee question regarding where the conversation was going, that they're talking about bringing in players? Do you think that will come to fruition? Or is he just going to stick with what he's got? Because I've heard, what I'm reading between the lines is he's looking at a couple of QPR players, or even the big man wanting to come back. But is that going to happen if he doesn't get people out the door?
The big man coming back, who are you talking about?
Balogun.
I think we've got to move on for that, personally. I think that's maybe just talk, but I might be wrong. Jaffa?
I don't think that's going to happen, Davey. I mean, listen, I know it's romantic. I mean, he's the wrong age, isn't he, Big Leon? He's a lovely big guy, but I don't think he'll be coming back up to Glasgow. Again, I don't know anything, so I just don't see it, Davey. I'm not sure that would be a good move both for the player and for us. But you never know. Football's a funny game, as the old saying goes. I'm sure he's going to. I mean, they came out when it was announced last week, Davey, I think it was stated that he has got funds there to go into the transfer market. So he's a football manager. He's not going to take the job without getting guarantees on that kind of stuff. There'll be money there. There is money there. How much there's there is, I don't know. But I guess if Michael Beale wants to go and buy a couple of players or reinforce, put it this way, if Kenton Morelos goes, he'll need to go and buy players. He'll need to. And not only that, the injury list as well.
To be fair, Jaffer, if you take Kenton Morelos' goals out in possibly the last calendar year, you're not taking a lot of goals out of your team, are you?
No, that's for sure. But listen, even the injury list alone would probably allow him. He would probably want to go and try and reinforce, even if it's just a loan to the end of the season. If he's just getting a 6-month loan off of somebody, just to reinforce the defence or whatever area he feels he's weak in, whether it be middle of the park or whatever. So I think there'll be a bit of to and fro in January. I think there'll be a bit of wheeling and dealing to be done, and I think we'll see some new faces coming in.
If we're maybe trying to sign people that are in similar situations to Kenton Morelos, if that makes sense, Southside, maybe we would be planning to get players in the summer, and we might pay extra money to get them in sooner.
I was just going to say that. I think if there's a player out there that we were looking to get in the summer, and that we could possibly get him in January for the long term, get him in, get him settled, and then he fires away next season, I think that's what we should do. I think, Davey, I'll stick my neck out. I think you'll maybe see 2 or 3 fresh faces in January. There you go. That's my own opinion. For what the board said, and I think it's needed, and I think it's something that Michael Beale will need to do, because he can't stick his heart on that squad, Davey. As you say, he'll cajole certain ones now, but for the long term in the future, in his job, he's got to refresh that squad and get a team built his way. As he said, he's got to go and build a team. So hopefully he'll get enough backing for the board, and he'll manage to do it, and it'll all be positive for us, Davey. But I think we'll see.
That's the point I was trying to make out. I think everybody's on the same boat with this one. Is if that doesn't happen, I don't think we're going to progress much if he doesn't get any kind of leverage with the transfers. Because even if you're bringing so many of the injured players back, it's not going to just transform that into a winning team. They've still got to, they've got to buy somebody in. They're definitely going to spend a couple of bucks here and there.
Well, they've got to be better, but with the luck we're having, David, we could sign 2 players and run into each other in the first training session, but for 6 weeks.
One of your directors are out injured, David. Pete's sake, no?
Well, I got the impression at the AGM that they couldn't wait till that AGM finished to get out of there.
I was just going to Southside, we never get around to really the questions. It's difficult, fans, and we're interested in a winning team, and they got off reasonably lightly, didn't they? If we're being honest, yeah.
Aye, there was loads of questions that could have been asked, and obviously there was still quite a few people standing at the mics waiting to ask questions, but then it was decided that they'd overwent their time when they had to finish it, Davey, So they probably did get off a bit lightly. But I thought there was positives to take for it as well. But
correct.
If they'd been asked a few more awkward questions, or they never answered, the guy answered who sanctioned the Liverpool that poster they sanctioned at Ibrox, and he did say at the end, I'm glad to see nobody still answered my question, so there was 1 or 2 things they sort of skipped. But it's like anything, Davey, we're honestly just interested in Rangers winning on the park. That's what we really, or that's what bothers us in our daily lives. But it's one thing, like you say, the club looks as if they've got a bit of stability, and they're looking for. They've admitted that if Resolution 8 passes, they could take on fresh investment for other people. So that's a positive, Davey, hopefully going forward.
Yeah, agree with that.
If you give up the Maltesers, Davey, you can put a right few quid in.
You've been reading my mail.
David, you want to put in £3 a month?
£3 a month for chocolate?
No, for nothing. Just for the love of the Glasgow Rangers, like we were talking about earlier, like a donation, like you get to a charity. Would you know,
I
like
would
to
pay,
just? Would you
I would
donate?
pay that. I'd pay that. I'd put a fiver into that. And
There
that's
you
me
go.
half my pension. That's half my pension money. I would pay as much as I could afford anything if it's going to help the Bears. Yeah, that's because that's the way you are when you're a Blue Nose. That's my opinion. That's my attitude, and I'll take that to my grave with me, boys.
Yeah. And don't worry, David, we know when your birthday is. We know when your birthday is.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I hope we beat that Mankey mob in the second, because my birthday's in the 4th.
It didn't take him long to get it in there, Jeff. I did that. He's keeps reminding us.
Becoming a regular thing, this, Davey, where you drop that in every show.
Okay, yeah, well, I'm getting fan mail now.
I was wondering why the other day there I was walking about going, what is it that's happening on the 4th of January? What's happening on the 4th of January?
Okay, it's great. I'm getting fan mail now.
I'll know that.
Would you say you're getting fat now?
Aye, I can't beat the Maltesers. There are some good delicacies out there now. I'll have a sweet tooth. I'll have a better sweet tooth as long as you just keep one, and that's the main thing. I agree with you totally, 110%, that's what it's all about. And hopefully now we'll see a change in where we were. But I just hope everybody just pulls the reins in a wee bit and doesn't expect us to click right away, because it's not going to click. It could. If it does, fantastic. But we'll need to wait and see. I don't think it could get any worse.
If you look at the team that Southside mentioned there to play potentially against Hibs, it's not far away for the team that started the Europa League final. I know. I mean, you're like talking 7 months ago now. You know,
yeah.
So they have shown, and if you think of maybe even the Leipzig game a couple of weeks before that, Jaffa, the stuff's there. They have to get the roller coaster. We're on it down. We need to get back up. Yeah.
Well, I think Michael Beale commented exactly that, Ox, in one of his interviews. He was talking about the club was in a Europa League final, 6 months ago, 6.5 months ago. The players don't become bad players. Those players got to a Europa League final. And the majority of those players, we know Bassey and Adebo are away, but the majority of those players are still there. That was his argument, and that's how he sees it. And bearing in mind, he was involved in developing a lot of those players. Yeah, there's some new additions, but surely from his perspective, from a coaching point of view, that's a good thing.
Aye, we'll see what it takes us. We're in for interesting times, Davey, yeah?
Well, that's all we can ask for, and I can't see it no happening really. But we did say that when Gio, but I think Gio what do you say about the guy? The guy was a legend. He got us to a cup final, won the cup, got us to the European Cup. Unfortunately, it went the way it's went, so we take that, enjoy it, move on, and just hopefully now we can start seeing it. That's what we really want to do, is to see things happening that we haven't been seeing before. That's what we're all looking for.
I think all we want is 3 points every week. I mean, if we went and performed well against Livingston, St Johnstone and St Mirren, but if we would beat them, Giovanni was still on a job Southside.
Aye, I think first and foremost what we're looking for is just a structure and a system and a style, Davey. And I think you'll bring that, and I think when the players are rigid in it and they know what they're doing, they'll all buy into it. The majority of them will buy into it and believe in it. I think when we're talking about when he gets a full squad, I think, Davey, we can be good enough to go out and win a League Cup. I think we can get this League Cup, and I think we could probably put a right good fist up for the Scottish Cup. I don't even with this squad, but I think we'll get a couple of additions in January. But I still think if you're organised and you're set up properly and we're going forward and we're creating chances, then we've got a finisher. We bought one for £2 million, and he started off well. And you don't become a bad striker overnight. So it's about getting back to creating chances and having plenty of bodies in the box when the ball comes in. And that's where we'll look to score goals, Davy. And if we can see that happening, mate, it's all going to be positive after that. And if we give him a wee bit of time, hopefully he'll build a right good Rangers team. And it might be the right decision that the board and, well, dare I say it, Ross Wilson makes, that Michael Beale might be the actual man for us.
Well, gentlemen, we've reached that time of the evening. David, thank you as always. And just so everybody knows out there, David's birthday's the 4th of January. And if you want to contact, he'll take anything. You'll know there's nothing you'll not refuse, Davey, is there?
I'll not answer that in case I incriminate myself.
All right. Good to hear from you, mate. Good to hear from you.
Great show as usual. Best show in town, guys. See you later. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate. Jaffa,
cheers, Davey.
last word for yourself, mate. Oh, Jaffa. He might have joined old Davey in the early bath, south side.
Aye, no, thanks for having us on, Ox, and it was good to do the show with Jaffa tonight and hear old Davey coming in and talking one of our regular callers. Plenty to talk about, mate, and I think what we're all really looking forward to is next Thursday when we get to Ibrox to see the famous Glasgow Rangers. But thanks for having us on, mate. Thoroughly enjoyed the show.
No, it was good to hear from you, mate. Good to hear from you. I know you always talk for the heart, sometimes for the head and all, mate. Sometimes for the head. But once again, thanks to you, mate, for distributing the goods to the people.
Oh, the needy. He was well chuffed with his parcel. I could see it in his face. His eyes lit up.
Right, thanks for joining us. Thanks to Jaffa and, of course, old Davey for joining us. Fox and Old School Blue for doing the technicals. This has been Rangers Radio. We'll be back Monday when we go to the end of the season. Thanks for listening. Unless anything breaks between now and then, you never know the Rangers world's outside, do you?
No, never know. Stay on standby.
You never know. But thanks for listening. Stay safe, everybody. Take it away, Old School Blue.
See them march on, marching on through the years of history. Let's held on high, for the jersey they will do or die. Fight for time, play the game with the mind of glory. Winners of gold, that's the Glasgow Rangers story. See them march on, by the sky as they fly before you. Loyal and true, on the wing to cheer the boys in blue. Follow their crew, marching on to the songs of glory. Winners of gold, that's the Glasgow Rangers story. See them march on, by the sky as they fly before you. Loyal and true, on the wing to cheer the boys in blue.